Let me do that again, sorry. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Village of Biscayne Park Code Compliance Board. It is Wednesday, June 21st, and the time is 6:32. Would the code officer please call roll?
Janie Anderson.
Here.
Rodolfo Barrientos. Dale Blayton.
Here.
Judy Hamlenberg.
Excused absence.
Absent. Michael Nanat.
Here.
Present.
We do need to vote on Judy's absence. She did turn in a note. She's told us for quite some time that she would be out today. So I would make a motion to accept that as an excused absence. All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. This is a meeting of the Village of Biscayne Park Code Compliance Board. The board is authorized pursuant to Chapter 14 of the Village's Land Development Code to ensure compliance with the Village's Code of Ordinances. The members of the board are citizens and residents of the Village of Biscayne Park. We volunteer our time and we are not paid for our services. The purpose of each hearing is to give any alleged violators the opportunity to contest the decision of the code compliance officer, which resulted in the issuance of a notice of violation, and to determine whether a violation of the village's code has occurred or is occurring. We are not authorized to dismiss violations based on hardships, ignorance, or the fact that others may be guilty of the same violation. These hearings are conducted in a quasi-judicial manner. Our responsibility is to act much like a judge in a court, and that is to hear cases presented by the village's code compliance officers and to hear contradictory arguments presented by the alleged violators. We are not authorized to change the code. The Village Commission is solely authorized to enact or revise codes. Conversely, neither the commission nor the village manager have the authority to overrule the findings of the board. Pursuant to Chapter 162 of the Florida statutes, orders of the board can only be appealed to the Circuit Court of Miami-Dade County. We have the authority to assess and order the payment of civil penalties, to issue orders having the force of law, to command whatever steps are necessary to bring a violation into compliance, and to assess administrative costs. In order to make a finding upholding the code compliance officer's decision, we must find that there is substantial competent evidence that the named violator was responsible for a violation of the relevant section of the code as charged. All documentary evidence presented by the parties must be submitted for placement in the hearing file. No documentary evidence will be considered unless the alleged violator or code compliance officer submits a copy for the hearing file. Each party shall have the right to call and examine witnesses, to introduce exhibits, to cross-examine opposing witnesses on any matter relevant to the issue, even though that matter was not covered in the direct examination, to impeach any witnesses regardless of which party first called them to testify, and to rebut the evidence against them. If you intend to address the board and you haven't signed in yet, please do so. Anyone who is going to address the board, please stand and raise your right hand so you may be sworn in. You are reminded that this board is a quasi-judicial board and false testimony can be penalized. Do we have any deletions, additions, changes to the agenda?
No.
Good. Okay, first thing is approval of minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read April and May's minutes?
Yes. Because
Okay.
May. April, I thought was fine.
Huh?
With regards to the May minutes,
Mhm.
the spelling of Judy's name, Judi, was a minor one. And then on page 3 of the minutes, I believe it should go 6 after H to be I and J, not B and C.
I think they do the minutes in the order we took the cases. That used to Yeah,
but on our previous agenda, it was
Mm.
listed as H and I mean I and J. You already have a B and C, D,
Right.
E, F, G. Should be H, I, not B, C. H3.
oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
And
You're correct, right?
the last one on, page 4 of 7E, I think, Michael was here and it should be 5-0.
Correct, correct. By then Michael was here. Okay, on page 3, we have a repeat of B and C. The initials B and C, I believe they're the correct cases.
No,
Yeah.
it just should be, they should be listed as I and J.
Right,
That's it.
right.
And then Judy's name throughout should be. Oh, yeah, throughout the text, not on the front page, but throughout, well, no, it's in a couple areas. I see sometimes it's spelled correctly. And then and I noticed in 1 or 2 places it was, yeah, page 4, the second line says member Judy Hammelberg. It's Judy, should be Judi. That's just minor, but,
Yeah, but still, you're right.
and then on number E on the same page, page 4 or 5, it should be 5-0.
The 11659 Griffin.
Yes.
So then,
No, it's not. Remember, we took them out of order.
right, you're right.
That's what I had written down as 5. You want to check the notes or check it?
Gotcha.
Other than that, with those revisions, I'd make minor revisions, a motion to approve both April and May.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Motion carries, both minutes approved, May with those Scrivener errors corrections. Would the code officer please call our first case?
Luciano Nibs, Code Compliance Officer for the Village of Biscayne Park and custodian of records. Our first case, 7J. That's 11931-33 Northeast 12th Avenue.
And I'm just going to remind everybody, please, it's critical to speak, and I'm guilty of this, not always doing so, directly into the mic because these mics do not pick up extraneous noises. So it's really important to speak up and speak directly. Okay.
Our first case, 7J. That's 11931-33 Northeast 12th Avenue. Profile Reality Incorporated, TRS, and 1431 Florida Land Trust. This is a fine reduction request, totaling $925 in fees for administrative citations.
I'm going to say the same thing that I say every single time we get one of these cases. It's past deadline. Deadlines exist for a reason. If you read the admin citations, they all make clear what the deadline is. We start hearing cases that are past deadline. What does that say to the people who we've turned down because they were past deadline? And would they not have legal recourse? or even someone who paid the fine because they didn't have time at that point to go through the hearing process. If they knew they could wait a year, they might not have done so. I take issue with hearing cases that are out of the deadline. I mean, admin citation was set up specifically. Deadline is set up specifically. It's very clear. I'm looking for board member
Well,
input.
no, I was gonna, if you were finished,
Sorry.
Janie, I'm in agreement, and in addition to that, I was just noting the dates of the admin, citations. It was one after another after another.
Mhm. Exactly.
So I don't understand, and for the same issue.
Right.
I could understand maybe one or two, but
Right.
it's been the
It's
same
multiple offenses,
problem
exactly.
Over and over
Exactly.
and over, and plus they're over a year.
It-
A
I will move that we not hear the case.
second,
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. I'm so sorry, ma'am, but it's a year
Can I
past
say
the
one, can I
deadline.
say one thing? I emailed the Biscayne Park email address like a lot of times, and it was only until Linda from the front desk contacted me and I forwarded her the chain of emails, and she's the one that was like it never reached the inbox for some reason, and that's why I'm here today. So I've been emailing since the tickets got issued, but nobody got back to me. So I forwarded the chain of emails to her, and that's why this got approved. So she made an exception for today.
are the emails in this packet?
No.
I don't see anything.
Do you have a copy of them?
No, I don't have a copy, but I forwarded it to Linda. So, and Linda's the one that showed, I believe it's Doreen, the officer. And that's who, like, I don't know if Doreen approved it, but an officer looked at the emails, and that's why it got approved today, or else we wouldn't be here. So,
Administrative citations have 10 days for them to appeal. When I started working for the village, it was way past the 10 days. So there was communication of, they were already late. There was communication of them explaining that they don't owe any money, or they had paid someone to cut the grass and
I see
whatnot.
why the defense was paying someone to cut the grass, but really is not relevant. You can pay someone to cut your grass, but doesn't mean there isn't a problem, and that
Right.
has nothing to do with trash out on the wrong day.
Right.
It's
And we do have photographs and other evidence to show that these violations
you-
did occur. That's right.
You were already past the deadline.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Did you make those emails in close in time to when you got these violations, or were they just
Yeah.
recently with Ms. Doreen?
no, it was close to violation, and I was calling the officer specifically that's listed on the ticket, but it would continuously go to voicemail. So, like, nobody would get back to me. So I'd call the officer, ask him the question, but it was just like, please leave a message for this officer. And then we would get the other ticket and the other ticket. And that's when I was emailing, and nobody responds. And I have the chain, which is why I forwarded the chain to Linda, who called me regarding this lien. Like, she said that it was going to turn into a lien. And I told her that we've been emailing. And the only reason she approved this hearing today and she charged us $50 is because of those emails, or else there was no standing to come here today.
So Linda doesn't approve cases coming to the board. I do. I do give every resident the right to be heard. I'm supposed to. And the board decides whether they want to hear the case or not. My job is to bring you here.
Again, communicating with you, where you've only been here roughly 9 months, it was already 4 months past the deadline.
But she's saying that she has emails close in time to when these
Yeah.
were done, so that would have been before Doreen got here. I mean, if you can show me those, I think that that is something that the board should look at.
But
I-
that would have had to request a hearing. Can't be emails just talking about the tickets. You have to request the hearing by the date on here.
Right.
Just asking for
I
clarification.
mean, I don't know what the emails say. I mean, I'd like to see what they say. I mean, maybe there was a request. I don't know. You know,
In those emails, did you ask to go on the board or
Well,
because
no,
did you?
no, I didn't know about this board, but I was just talking about the tickets and the fact that the officers, we were asking someone to call us back regarding the tickets, and then there's no response. And this was probably before you got here. So that's probably, and nobody was responding to that. So I was doing my best to get in touch with somebody.
At this point, I'm going to stand by what we voted on. If you can come back at some point in time and prove that within the deadline, you began communication asking for a hearing, then we can rehear this. Right now, we're going to need to stand by what we have and the code officer's testimony.
yeah, if you can bring those to those emails that show them relatively close in time to when these administrative orders were done, I would look at that.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind also, I will let you know that there is pictures and documentation of
Mhm.
the excessive amount of trash. So I am inclined, unless there's some evidence, of,
Are those different times or the same
Yeah.
time?
no, these are,
That's the thing. Even if there was communication within the deadline,
These were
the
repeat,
citations are good.
and they were repeat violations. As you see, the amounts increased because they were repeat violations.
More, the same trash or more trash? The
More
same,
different times.
More trash.
Different
different days.
It was different times.
That's also part of it. The fact that it's a year, but also there is clear documentation that these things all existed and happened on multiple occasions.
You're saying those are your lawn guys
Yeah.
doing that?
Yeah, and we have the receipts. Like, for example, like we get a ticket on May 4, and then he cut on May 4.
yep,
So-
but if he left the yard debris out on the street, that's what your fine is
Right.
for. If he didn't take it.
But it says tree and garden refuse, but he cut it the same day.
No, cutting it, but he
Yeah.
can't leave it unless it's being picked up. Or if it's excessive. You can't leave it for 2 or 3 days. If your trash day is on, a pickup day is on a Monday, you can put it out Sunday. You're not to put it out on Friday or Saturday. Or pick up on Monday. And if if it exceeds the 3 cubic,
Two.
all right, it exceeds the yardage, then it'd be an excess. And I'm just looking at the dates of the multiple things. There was 4/11, 5/4,
May 4th,
5/11.
May 4th of last year was a Wednesday. If he left it out on a Wednesday, because you're in the same end of town as I am, our pickup day is Tuesday. You can't leave it out on a Wednesday. So, again, I have no reason to believe at this point, these aren't good citations. But again, you are free. If you can find those emails and they are dated within the framework of the deadline, we'll be glad to take those into consideration, but I've got to be honest with you, the proof is here. That the violations are good. I'm sorry, the citations are good.
Okay.
We will move on. Thank you, and please keep the code officers posted.
Okay, thank you.
Our next case, 7I, that it's 12085 West Dixie Highway, case number CEN-23-63. Horacio Dehor. This is violation 19.1.3A and 19.1.3B, license required. This is for advertising a property on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license. In reference to this, the property owner was not in compliance.
Are they still lacking the license?
Okay, my English is bad.
Just
I
a
need
second, sir.
help
Give us a second, sir,
in
please.
Spanish. Thank you.
We will need a translator. Rafael will help us translate. He doesn't speak English. They haven't- No, they haven't complied. There's no application for a permit and they haven't paid the $1,000 fine. They just took down their advertisements the other day. So they were still advertising even after we issued the violation.
Rafael, you translate? Thank you.
Thank you.
Into the microphone, please.
Está diciendo que estabas poniendo una publicidad de rentar tu casa o tu apartamento.
Es correcto, es lo que hablé contigo el día que llegué aquí. Estuve 4 meses fuera del país por una enfermedad de la hermana de mi señora. Y-
Even though he doesn't speak English, I still need him to speak up and into the mic so that it's properly recorded.
Habla cerca al micrófono.
Okay.
Ok.
No, te comentaba lo mismo que te dije el día que te vi aquí, que me atendiste en forma muy amable. Estuvimos 4 meses junto a mi señora fuera del país. No, llegué a ver estos postings, pero apenas me enviaron la última nota, aquí estoy y obviamente quiero solucionar el problema. Mi hijo ha hecho una publicidad porque estamos pasando una situación financiera difícil.
Okay, so what he's saying is that he was out of the country for about 4 months. So he did not get to see the courtesy notice, the citations, and they're willing to comply, but they're currently going through some financial hardships. So that's as far as I go. So, so again, so he's claiming that did not get the notifications, the violations, because they were out of the country for about 4 months. Right? And they're having financial hardships. So I was going to ask him if he's going to pay the $1,000 fine and then apply for the short-term rental.
Rather, I see what we're being asked is to institute the lien process, or would it not be better to give him a deadline to both pay the $1,000, fill out the application, and if he doesn't, then it goes to the $250 a day, which
That's up to the board to decide. If you decide you want to give him time on $1,000, we will be okay with that. If the board decides after the given time that he hasn't complied, then
rather than going with the intent to lien at this point on the 1,000, how do you feel about give him a deadline? That deadline includes not just applying for the permit, but paying that 1,000. If he does not do both, then the $250 a day kicks in. If he
Yes.
doesn't, if
Well,
he
this-
doesn't apply in time,
This is just an administrative fine
right? But
and
you can do the $250.
First, that I have, with giving them time, I think that's something that we should afford this resident. What I would like to know is from them about how long do they think it may take.
Okay, okay. El board está conversando y está considerando ofrecerte extenderte el tiempo, pero quieren saber cuánto tiempo necesitas tú para estar en orden.
No, yo quisiera hacerlo inmediatamente. Tuve tu referencia
Ujú.
con respecto a lo que tenía que cumplir y estoy tratando de terminar con eso.
Okay. Entonces vas a pagar los $1,000 y luego vas a aplicar por el permiso.
Bueno, si tengo que pagar los $1000, con esfuerzo los pagaré. Si
Ujú.
pueden tener una consideración con esos $1000 o reducirlos, sería de gran ayuda para mí.
Ok.
Si eso es posible,
Mm.
si no, tendré que pagar los $1000. Como te he dicho a ti, el día que nos conocimos,
Ujú.
la intención era, por supuesto, pagarlo. Me está costando.
Ok.
Si pueden ayudarme con eso, y después te
Bueno.
presentaré lo que me has pedido para poder cumplir con los requisitos.
En lo que se refiere a la multa de $1000, no te la van a quitar.
Ok.
Lo que te pueden dar es extender un periodo para pagarlo. Ellos quieren saber cuánto tiempo necesitas tú para pagar la
Bueno,
multa.
yo creo que necesito aproximadamente unos 15 días.
Sí, ok. Segundo.
Sí.
He's asking for 15 days to come into compliance, that he will pay the $1,000 and apply for the SDVR permit. 1-5.
I would actually like to go to the next hearing, I mean,
I agree.
because that's for a month,
I agree.
or next hearing, correct?
Yeah.
Or right at a month.
Yes, I totally agree. Let's see when the next hearing.
This,
This way we're
Def-
sure.
it's June the 21st, no, July the 19th, so
I'm going to,
Is that your motion?
yeah, I'd like to make a motion that on case number CEN 23-63, that reaffirm the administrative citation of $1,000, give the resident until July the 18th to come into compliance, to pay the fine, and to, if they would like, apply for the necessary permit. If not, commencing July the 19th, assess a daily fine of $250 per day.
I'll second.
So if you could,
I'm sorry. All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Zero.
Janie, yeah, Will. Dale Janie, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, ellos te están ofreciendo que para que pagues los $1000 en julio 18, y luego esa es la fecha para que pagues los $1000. En caso que no los pagues, empezando el día 19, va a haber una multa diaria de $250.
Ok.
Y, perdóname,
Sí, sí.
y si quieres continuar rentando tu propiedad, entonces tienes que aplicar por el permiso.
Ok, de acuerdo a los requisitos
Sí.
que tú me has dado.
Entonces,
Fotos, incendio,
oh, claro, sí, sí, sí. Sí.
matafuego,
Ujú.
y el parqueo, designarlo,
Correcto.
distancia.
Yo te
Ok.
puedo, tú tienes esa información ya, ¿verdad?
No,
Si no,
por
te la voy a hacer
escrito,
llegar.
pero puedo pasar mañana y verte a
Oh,
ver
ok.
si tú me puedes dar eso. Le agradezco mucho a todo el consejo y el tiempo que me han dado
He's thanking everyone. Gracias a ti.
para abonar la multa. Muchas
Okay.
gracias.
Okay, he's
Thank
thanking
you very
everyone.
much.
He's an agree.
Gracias, Rafael.
Thank you, sir.
Our next case is 6A,
Okay.
670 Northeast 119th Street. Case CEN-22-52, Timothy M. Kelly. This is for violation 8.4.3B, lots and public rights of way. That's an overgrowth in the front and at the sides of the property. And as of today, the property is non-compliant. I'd like to submit photos of the property that was taken today. That is correct, not in compliance.
Case started back in March.
Yeah, March 15th.
Mm-hmm. Board comments, please.
You have pictures of something? Do I get to see what you're talking about? Okay, now what are you talking about? What's not in compliance?
Sir, I need you to give us just a second, but then I'm going to need you to identify yourself and your relationship to the
Okay.
property.
You ready?
Any questions?
Yes. What exactly is not in compliance? 'Cause I'm somewhat looking and on the, I believe on our last meeting, the resident and the code officer were to meet and go over everything. So what hasn't been done? I just see that this is very, it's a natural growth, but if the 5 foot right of way is clear, and it appears to be, I know you can have low brush.
Yeah.
As long as it's not above a certain height. And that seems to be in compliance. Within the property, the fact that we have, pothos coming down from a tree, that's just a natural part of,
Yeah.
of it, of landscaping, I would think, for overgrowth. I'm looking for where the weeds, I don't see anything other than ferns and some native plants and palm trees. And it's heavily landscaped, that's true, but
I don't see anything either. I mean, did you guys meet? Was there like a meeting that?
The house is almost 100 years old, is why everything is overgrown.
right, no.
Is your name and your relationship to
Timothy Kelly, my relationship,
the property?
I'm the owner.
Thank you. That needs to go on the record. That's all.
Okay,
So that's what I just have, what exactly, could you show us? So far from the photos, I don't see anything out of the ordinary or within the right of way, so that somebody, if needed, could step off of the road for their safety.
I don't either.
And it is, I agree, it's a heavily landscaped.
Oh, because it's
property.
100 years old.
and I've cut quite a lot back recently. If you notice,
If you made any changes from the time you first brought it to his attention, the gentleman's attention.
Well, Mr. Kelly did at one point was trimming back some of the overgrowth in the property. But I believe since then it's, very thick inside there, and there are a few branches just off to the edge that can be trimmed back some.
I've asked repeatedly to someone come out and tell me exactly what I needed to do so that I wouldn't have to come here every couple of months to talk to you guys. I'll be more willing to
And
do
the-
whatever
the-
you
The
need.
trick is to trim it back and keep on it, because with the
Well, we
rain.
have been, and I even moved the flowers that I had planted with my daughter because it was too close to the street, so I moved that back too. I cleared everything that I knew about, so if you let me know what else needs to be done, I'll be glad to do it, but I happen to
And
know
I will,
what it
I
is.
will admit, it's not easy right now with all the rain. Raphael, would you mind passing me the pictures again? I can take one more look.
Wait, at the last meeting or somebody had mentioned at a meeting that there was supposed to be a meeting between you guys, but so what happened? It just didn't happen? Didn't
I
happen?
asked for a meeting, but I guess we didn't meet up. I asked Mr. Dibbs if he could come out and actually tell me what it was, but we never met.
Right.
Is this on? But there was a sign, I think it's in the evidence, it was submitted in the evidence that said that to be cautious because he has some bees near the door. So the officer was not able to come and knock on the door.
The bees are gone.
Are they gone now?
Yes. Well, I didn't want him to walk up to the door.
Well, the officer came and that's what he saw.
Oh,
so
okay.
so
Well-
He wasn't able to do the meeting.
Okay, well, were you able to ascertain if it was acceptable or you're saying it's not acceptable?
I'm saying that it's not acceptable. There are branches off to the edge. Eastbound,
Of the 250-year-old oak tree or what?
the Bougainvillea.
The bougainville. I trimmed the crap out of that, as you've noticed.
Yes.
I took every branch off up to about 6, 7 feet.
If you can just trim that back in towards the property, if that would be more than substantial for me.
Okay,
How do we feel about, let's just.
I
give
would like
another
just to
month.
make a motion
Okay,
that the property on case number CEN dash 22-52 has come into compliance and dismiss the case. What I would ask is that the resident make sure that in the future, the anything encroaching of 5 feet into the right of way needs to be clear so that residents have
I'm sorry.
I'll second.
May I make a friendly suggestion? The code officer did make one last suggestion that he'd like to see done. Would you mind making that part of your motion?
Well, I didn't see it. That's why there's no photos with the bougainvillea. But I mean, if it's encroaching, bring it back before us. I mean, I would give the resident time to come into compliance with that if that's there, but I didn't see it in the photo and that's why I'm hesitant. I do believe it's just from the photos, even the current ones, I'm seeing that we have a significant improvement.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll second the motion as it stands.
All in favor?
I-
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. To dismiss.
so we're done.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, I missed that, Jim.
Our next case, 7H. That's 11210 Northeast 10th Avenue. Case number CEN-23-79, Biscayne Luxury Estates Incorporated. Violation 19.1.3A and 19.1.3B, license required. This is for advertising a property on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license. This case is not in compliance and we are asking for an order of enforcement with an intent to lien $1,000, violation fine outstanding.
Here to speak on that.
It's still being listed as a Airbnb? Is still listed?
Well,
Yes, they are still listing and I'm about to issue them with a second offense for the $2,000. This one is the first, which we are asking to lien, but I am going to issue a second offense.
right. Yeah, I really didn't have any questions, given the documentation and showing the listings. I'm inclined to make a motion that we reaffirm the administrative citation of $1,000 and move to file a lien. Plus, I'd like to add administrative fees. Is that automatic? No, when you file the lien, do you add your administrative fees to this? Filing fees. Okay. Is there something that stops us from adding your administrative fees for all of this? I would like to add plus your administrative fees for what it costs to cite and bring it before the board.
Do we have that on a schedule, Darlene or Doreen, or do you guys just, you will add up your time and figure? Perfect. Oh, okay.
All right.
Perfect.
I would then amend my motion to reaffirm the administrative citation of $1,000, move to file the lien, and to assess administrative fees of $250.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Our next case, 6J. That's 11801 Northeast 10th Avenue, case number CEN-23-27, the state of Linda Brewer. This was brought before the board for violation 9.171, abandoned property of vehicles with expired license tags. The status of this case is in compliance at this time. The vehicles have been removed.
Thank you,
What
Madam
an amazing difference.
Day. Thank goodness I'm friends with Mark Orlandi of Miami Shores Auto Center. He found the qualified towing company and they got it about
Sorry,
3
Mr.
weeks.
Lafredo, would you identify yourself?
Stephen Lafredo, I'm the attorney for the estate. My colleague and younger sister Judith Lafredo is here with me tonight. She's also working on the estate. But thankfully, we were able to get them towed about 3 weeks ago. And they're gone.
I mean, I have to say, you had one of the most difficult things to deal with logistically. A client who passes without a will, her personal representative in New York, and elderly himself. I'm sure the neighbors are all very grateful.
Should I tell you more since you've worked with us at the benefit of too much information, but I think the board needs to know. Ms. Sylvia Linke, who was working in the house to get records for us, about 2 weeks ago, she found a will. So we have to pivot. We're in the process of doing that. It still leaves Mr. Becerra as one of the 3 heirs. And the will's been filed with the court, but it adds the late Mr. Brewer's 2 grandsons. And it makes a North Miami resident who was a close friend, the executrix. So we're still working with that,
Wow.
but it's just, we couldn't find any document
Right.
because of the conditions, but we worked, Judith and Ms. Linke worked quite a bit, and then Ms. Linke worked on her own
Wow.
under our supervision, and we've deposited the will with the court, so we may have a little change. But we understand that there is further improvement to the property is needed, and we will be in a position to do that whichever way we pivot. Because I know it needs to be painted.
Motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that on case number CEN-23-27, that the attorney has worked diligently to come into compliance. It's now in compliance, and to close and dismiss the case.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Lafredo. And thank anyone else from all of us in the neighborhood.
Our next case, 6D. That's 826 Northeast 121st Street. Case number EEN 18-0764. Jan Roots and wife Denise. Violation on this case is 8.4.4, prohibited animals beehive. This was declared a life and safety issue, and we're asking to order impose a municipal lien totaling $2,000, $500 for administrative fine, plus $1,500 for bee costs removal.
We have asked for a notice to appear from his firm for the file and for the board. But he'll introduce himself and we'll do that after the fact.
I hope I'm wrong, but I think we have a problem with this one. Okay, I'm not wrong, I can tell. You cannot use administrative citations for anything other than the 8 items that are on the form. There's an ordinance that supports this administrative citation. While I respect that code office, not this long before Doreen and Luciano were here. I understand she was in a hurry to get the bees eradicated, but you can't make up your own rules. You gotta play by what you're supposed to play by. You can't just draw in a little box and write life safety. So am I correct in saying?
I believe this case appeared before the board a while ago, and that was mentioned that she did an administrative citation instead of doing an actual notice of violation. Looking through the documents, we had to go through a lot of documents to piece together the puzzle of this particular property. I believe they did issue a violation after the fact.
And
Is there an order on that violation?
is it-
There's an order of enforcement on this. $500.
I just have a question because I see it's here and then I see we have it further back.
Yes.
it was
Other,
written Again,
well,
yeah.
what's the difference?
It's difficult to tell. We are custodians of record. Like I say, it took me a lot to piece this together. Some
Well,
things
you-
didn't make sense to me.
This was
May-
written by Officer Caserta.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get, they're the same cases
Yeah,
on the docket twice.
yeah.
I just want to know what is the difference between here and what's on the docket?
Okay, so some of the cases that are on the new business were never heard before the board. Old business was heard before. With the old cases, we are asking to lien the property. With the new cases, I'm asking for voluntary dismissal because those cases were never brought before this board and they are redundant because there's a bigger case superseding those cases.
That's what I was sort of seeing. That's why I wanted
Mhm.
clarity.
Okay. Mhm.
Some of these appear to.
They've been sitting there and they've been, in our system.
Those were
just-
ones written by the most recent former code officer that he never brought in front of us.
Right. So because they are just sitting and blocking the system, I decided to bring them here so we can get rid of them.
Now, to this one, can we hold that? I have a concern from a legal perspective because, yes, it was a serious situation. Somebody died.
Someone died.
You can't get much worse than that, but
It was an admin
there is a
citation,
procedure that had to be
Right.
followed that she didn't follow.
right? And for the $1,500 where the bees were removed, I believe that should have gone to the village manager administratively.
So I was exactly, I was gonna say, I believe anytime we do something that the village has to go in, such as the cutting of the grass, the property is then assessed the
That's a fee.
The lien
fee for service, in this
Right.
case, fee for service.
or abatement. So if the board decides, and that's up to the board, to dismiss this case, we can go ahead and dismiss the case. There are fines that have been outstanding for a long time. I'm not sure if I can bring that up with the interim manager and see, because the village did spend $1,500 to remove the bees. So,
Just perspective, so this might be a question for the attorney. If we dismiss the citation because it appears to be improperly written,
right,
can the village still come back and collect
the 1,500,
That was a fee for service.
right.
And in view of the terrible accident that happened, I think the village was certainly well within their rights to go on there and clear it out. But can we,
Separate absolutely. Absolutely.
how does everyone?
I mean, do we table it because, and get the information from the attorney? So that way, if we don't dismiss it, if we dismiss it, we might give up that right.
Yeah, I agree, Michael. So we get everything done right the first time and not try to, okay. Let's table this one. We question the attorneys if it can be broken out. If we decide to dismiss the citation due to its problems, and we still, I'm sorry, not we, can the village still collect as a fee for service on that 1,500?
I'll second Michael's motion to table.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0.
Good job.
One of my best presentations ever.
Oh, each case, now go to the next case.
Our next case, 6E. E as in echo. 826 Northeast 121st Street, case EEN 21-0881, Jan Root and wife Denise. This is in violation of property maintenance, chapter 8.4.1, overgrown grass. Property was declared unsafe structure by the building official. An administrative fine of $50 remains unpaid. You're also asking to order and impose municipal lien on this property.
Again, the reason why we're asking for an administrative citation to be leaned is because of the uniqueness of this case. This particular property has been marked to be demolished. Or is going to the county for. These kind of cases fall through the cracks if they are not taken care of. So what has happened in the past were, like you see, there's a list of cases that nothing was done because no one paid attention. So I've put these cases together so at least they can be recorded in the county to
Exactly.
have a solid record that it's $50, but they owe it.
But it's owed, and
Right.
I certainly agree that, it's time. It's
Well, seeing as how the major one, this one right here has been out of the way, tabled. Wouldn't mind hearing from the attorney as to what he has to say about any of these, because hopefully, maybe it can be resolved before a lien is filed with additional costs of the filing fees.
and
I, if, I haven't looked at the rest of them, but I would be inclined to request administrative fees from the
Sure.
village to be assessed also.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. For the record, my name is Bill Riley. I have offices located at 3050 Biscayne Boulevard. I know that you've seen other people on this application or on this matter. I'm new face before the board. Just to give you a little bit of information about myself. I've been practicing law within the city of Miami for about 23 years, and I focus on land use and zoning matters. I got called regarding this case about a week and a half ago. And I understand that the owner has had a lot of personal problems I won't get into, including her husband passing away. But I took the case for one reason only. I know that it's had a lot of issues and it hasn't got off for first base. My role is to get this off of first base. My role is to bring this into compliance. I've had a heart-to-heart with the property owner. She's given me authority to sort of lead that charge. Since then, I've already talked to our contractors. Within the next let's say within the next 2 weeks at a maximum, you're going to see some improvements to the property. We're gonna make sure that the lawn's cut and maintained moving forward. We are going to, if you know the boards that are on the property that partially cover windows, and there's graffiti on them that have been sort of tried to be smeared off, we're gonna replace those. We're gonna replace those boards. We're gonna paint them the same color as the house. We're gonna pressure clean it. We're gonna try to make it presentable. And the same time, within 2 weeks, we already talked to our engineer, our contractor, we're coming in for a permit application for the first floor foundation. I'm gonna try to show progress, because I know there's no reason for this board to believe me, because I know the history. I'm asking the board to believe me and give me the opportunity, because I'm really gonna show progress. What I would like, and I don't know if this board has the ability to do it, I've done it in other jurisdictions, haven't had the pleasure of doing it here in Biscayne Park. But what I like is, I'd like to come back before the board next month, to report to you about our progress, to give you an update of what we've done within 30 days. That's what I would like to do. I don't know if that's a possibility, if that's the will of the board, but that's what I was hoping for coming here today.
So in 30 days, you want to, sorry. In 30 days, you want to come back and the lawn will be cut, the permit for a foundation will be provided, and the graffiti and all the things that you just mentioned would be taken care of.
Yes, sir.
That's okay.
But that's good, but it's already out of our hands now, because it's already been turned over to
Yes, sir.
the village. So the only thing before us right now is just the liens.
Right.
And whether you're going to let us know that, oh, the liens will be paid within 2 weeks, and then we can either give you time to pay all these liens that are before us if they all meet the criteria, within 2 weeks. If not, assess a daily fine thereafter in order to ask the village to file a lien.
Right.
If you plan on doing that, then it would, to me, do that. As far as giving us an update, that's great, but there's nothing before us. There are no current fines before us or current citations to come before us, so that's already been handed over to the village and ruled
Understood.
on.
Understood. So when you consider the intent to lien, I know that there's additional costs for that intent to lien. Now, again, excuse me if I'm incorrect. I understand that some of the liens, I'm still getting familiar with all the paperwork, but some of the liens are small in dollar amount. Some of them are substantial. It's my understanding, again, correct me if I'm wrong, that there is a mechanism to ask for mitigation sometimes. What I want to do is, before you actually move forward with a lien, I want to show you that my word's my bond, and I can actually make progress, and I can actually bring this property into compliance. If I can do that, and if I can earn your good graces, then maybe there might be an opportunity to mitigate. Maybe there's not. That's why I'm asking Mr. Board Member to come back in 30 days and to table this and the other lien items. I just want to see if I can show you real progress in that short period of time.
If I may, that's lovely. The ones that I don't think are you need to bring back, come before us on, are the ones that are administrative citations. I mean, that's just an administrative citation, 10 days to bring it, ask for a hearing.
That's a good point.
It's just there.
That's a good
The
point.
other ones, once they're presented, we could go by, and if you can bring
think
by,
that's a well-received point. I think that's a.
and you
I
would
think
be
that's a good
asking
point.
basically for a fine reduction
Yes, sir.
for the number of ones that are outstanding.
At this point, first of all, I do want to thank you. It's refreshing to see the tone change. Let's just
Thank
put
you.
it delicately that way. And you do know the history, and it's picture the people living around this property.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. With all due respect to this board and to you, sir, this case was ruled, this board has ruled on this case. Their ruling is final. This case has gone through numerous progress checks, been to the board a million times, as you may be aware. So once the board rules, you heard the preamble, you would have to go to circuit court and appeal their decision. It's not in order for him to come back and ask the board and tell the board, I'm gonna fix the property. We went through that process and you were at the point where you said, board members ruled on, it's agreed, this property has to be sent to the county. Now, you can appeal that decision with the circuit court, not with this board.
I understand, and, I haven't got a date yet with, when it's gonna be heard by the county, but, I will attend that hearing. I'm gonna tell them the same thing I told you guys.
Okay.
And I think that the council member, had a good point with regard to the separating the administrative, fines from the other fines. I never looked at it that way, but I thought that that was, you know, a good way to look at it.
I do get your point, sir. I had earlier been invited, I think yesterday, to a meeting that you might have had with some of the city commissioners, and I would just like to point out or reiterate that as the preamble says, the commission, the village manager, once this board rules on a case, none of them can change the decision of the board.
No, I understand. And I reached out to the commissioners. I met with one, I talked to another one. I really did it to introduce myself.
Right.
To tell them that I just recently got involved, and because I could, imagine some frustration from neighbors, and I understand they're elected officials, I wanted to give them my contact information, tell them my plans of trying to move this along quickly, and also tell them if they had any suggestions, or if they get comments from neighbors, you know, they can reach out to me, and I'll act quickly.
We'll be happy to get your contact information, sir. We'll pass it on to the building official who has this case in his hands now,
Perfect.
and you
Thank
can communicate with him.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
So we still have the matter
Yeah.
of the three potential intent to liens.
Well, yeah. Yes, and the one right here that we're on right now, I may motion, to, on case number EEN 21-0881, to reaffirm the administrative citation of $50, and assess the administrative, costs of preparing the documents and citations, and, the filing fee, and move that the village impose a lien. If the, may I ask, do you think you'll be, making, can pay this within, a week?
Yeah,
Fines?
I don't see any reason. Can you, I'm sorry for my ignorance, can you pay it online?
No, not, code violations cannot be paid online. You would have to come to the office,
Okay.
to
Okay.
Village Hall, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So
Um,
a $50 fine like this, what would an administrative, cost be?
The administrative cost is standard $250. However, we can ask for more money if the case was substantial in its nature. Like this is a administrative case, so
I would just, the administrative cost of $250, the $50 plus the $250, this has been pending for a while, and
in the
to
filing.
be paid within, what's the date? Today's the 21st, by, June the 29th. If not, commencing,
Just a quick amendment, Dale, because technically, even though the gentleman is here, till he has the order of enforcement,
2 weeks?
yes,
What's 2 weeks?
5th July.
Okay.
Can I,
Reaffirm the administrative citation of $50 plus the $250 administrative, costs to be paid by July the 5th. If not, assess it.
could I ask one question or just ask one request?
File the lien.
Because, I just heard July 5th and try to take one vacation a year. I'm leaving, this weekend. I come back on July 6th, the day after, you mentioned. Would the board be willing to move it to that following Monday, July 9th? That way I can make sure if I need to run to the client, pick up the check and run here, I'll do it myself. I just want to make sure it's done.
I would end it to July
Thank
the
you.
9th. If not, on July the 10th, request the village file a lien.
Thank you very much.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. That's firm the $50 fine, assess the $250 admin fee paid by the 9th, or the village is to file the intent to lien.
Our next case, 6F, that's 6F, 826 Northeast 121st Street. Case number EEN 21-1082, Jan Roots and wife Denise. This is in violation of Chapter 8.4.1, property maintenance, overgrown grass. Property was declared an unsafe structure by the building official, and an administrative fine for $100 remains unpaid on the property. We ask a order to impose a municipal lien on this property.
For the record, Madam Chair, Bill Riley with the Office of, the Riley Law Firm, located at 3050 Biscayne Boulevard. Appearing on behalf of the property owner, I just want to incorporate all my comments from the last hearing just moments ago into this one. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Is that property going to be raised? You're going to raise the building?
So what we are planning to do within that 2 weeks is file a permit to, you know where the crawl space is? So we want to close out all the openings, put flowable fill in there, a 2-inch concrete cap. So make it where it's almost like the construction today where you do slab on grade, and sort of, make sure the foundation is strong and then go up from there.
Is it a wood structure?
It is wood structure, yeah, it is wood.
I would like to make, case number EEN 21-1082, to reaffirm the administrative citation of $100, assess the administrative fee of $250 to be paid by July the 9th. If not, 10th, authorize, request that the village move with filing a lien.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Our next case, 6G, that's 826 Northeast 121st Street. Case number EEN 22-0383, Jan Roots and wife Denise.
Same difference? Oh,
No, I want, it's.
We have,
Administrative
no, right.
fine. Could you explain what's going on and
This one.
There's an order, I'm sorry, there's order of enforcement on this case that was issued, I don't have the date here, but the order was to have the fine start running from August the 18th of 2022 at $60 a day. So as of today, the fine's been running, and it amounts to $18,420. So we are asking for lien to be confirmed, so we can file this lien which continues to run until this property comes into compliance. Now, I am asking for $1,000 in administrative fines. It's not the $250 standard of fee. The reason is this case has been coming to the board for so many times. We have sent out a lot of notices. The certified notices are now $7 a piece. And every month we send these out. Our administrative staff are on it. It takes a lot of preparation to prepare the cases. And an administrative fine was not assessed when the order of enforcement was done. They did a daily fine if they applied for permits and came into compliance, but they never did an administrative assessment. And I'm asking for $1,000 just because of this, how substantial this case was and how long it has taken for this case back and forth coming to the board.
We know it was brought back and forth each month for a total of 6 months,
Mhm.
same issue.
Right.
And every month, that's.
There's been meetings, there's been a lot of emails.
Mr. Riley, it sounds like problems that pre-existed your being involved in this case.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately,
Yes, sir.
I don't know that there's really anything that you're doing prospectively that it's going to be able to ameliorate, things that had already occurred.
The honest truth is I can't rewind the clock. All I can do is, try to do my best moving forward. But yes, you're correct. I can't.
So obviously this,
fast.
I'm sorry, this clearly is a much more significant dollar amount.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you anticipate being able to clear it also by the 9th?
I don't believe so, to be honest with you. I don't believe she has those resources.
Because this is really the crucial one.
Yeah,
The main case.
yeah, this is the one I was talking about with regards to like mitigation and seeing what I can do just to show the board and the village, and everybody, including the county board, which when you go to Miami-Dade County Unsafe Structures Board, they'll issue a repair or demolish order. And they'll say you have so much time to repair. If you don't make that time, you gotta demolish. So the clock could be ticking on me, from multiple angles. So, that's the charge I've taken and, what I've committed myself to. So, I don't think she has those types of resources. And if there's any ability for the board, to not, stop the fines, not,
No.
not do
That we-
anything, not do,
That we can't do.
yeah, I'm not asking to stop the fines. I'm not asking for really anything other than if the board would be gracious enough to table it and give me some time. And I could potentially ask for mitigation if I do a good job. I would appreciate that, but really that's all I can ask for.
My only, well, it's already sort of, I mean, we've already moved on from or doing anything about it because it's not in compliance. So it's not here for a fine reduction. We're at the point where we either follow a lien or we don't, or give you till July 9th to pay it. Other than that, follow lien. My question is, I see on the order of enforcement, it says $35.
And there was another order that says to raise it another,
Oh, the one afterwards.
right.
I see now.
So it was $60 a day from 8/18, I believe, 2022.
Didn't hear, I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I just don't see it in my documentation.
And I don't know, although I know that, but some jurisdictions do this. I don't know if you, have ever assessed progress payments, where you pay over time. But I honestly don't believe she has the resources to pay that amount of money by July 9th. I just want to be honest with the board.
I mean, so what are our options? Basically that, you know, impose, give a deadline or, lean it, right?
Yeah,
Just,
request that the village, proceed with filing the lien,
mhm.
which that in and of itself just protects the village or
I think we really have no choice. We've got to,
the board.
There is an.
Okay, I do see it now. It's on the same one. It's 35 and then above it's 25. No, that's,
Right.
now I see it. And because I was looking through the subsequent ones that were.
So Mr. Riley's question about coming back for a reduction, is that,
until you're in compliance, you can't come back for a
there's nothing, it's gotta be in compliance. So he doesn't, it's not right to make that motion is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
until that, everything is cleared, everything is complied, and there's no way that's happening.
The condition precedent of compliance is not met, so therefore he wouldn't be able to ask for that. So that would, I'm just trying to look at the avenues that you're presenting to see whether there's
Yes,
an
sir.
ability to go there, and it doesn't seem like that because of the lack of compliance.
There are still a lot of
It's still
complexities,
standing,
right?
and There's been no permit to do so, to repair or come into compliance. I mean, there is no permit and the building has not been demolished, so it's still a daily fine. So,
Well, it seems like the intent is to not demolish it and get some of these footers in there, whatever Mr. Riley described.
but that's been the intent
Yeah.
the whole time. for the
Right.
past
20 years.
The building official has a different viewpoint, so it's back in his hands to go forward.
The reason I asked if something like this could be considered at a later date, the intent to lien, is really for one reason. Assuming I can get the permit, assuming that the building official says, okay, your plan of action is a good plan of action, and we are going to grant you the permit that you applied for. Assuming also, number two, that the unsafe structures board says you have 6 months, 8 months, a year, whatever it is, to repair or demolish, whatever they say whenever we go to that hearing. That is going to set that clock, but what it really does is it makes this property owner, who I don't think has the financial resources to do this without financing, get financing. If a lien is placed on the property of a substantial amount like this, it doesn't mean she can't get financing, but it makes it a lot more difficult. Is the only thing. So that's the reason I said if I could show some type of progress, you don't relinquish your right, the fine's still running, but you decide on whether to file the lien at a later date, it just gives me a little bit of time. That's all.
So while I understand the effect a lien has on a property, sometimes a lien also has the effect of encouraging payment of the fine. And that's what we're trying to get here. I mean, this is a significant fine that remains unpaid. And as far as waiting to come into compliance, whichever path this property ends up going down, it's still going to be a lengthy path to compliance. So we've got to get some cooperation in terms of getting this paid.
Once either a permit's pulled or an order of demolition, the fine stopped, because at that point in time, it's
Yeah.
coming into compliance. Either it's got an order to demolish.
Correct.
Or,
Right.
and the permits to demolish it, or the permits
Fix it.
to restore or
Fix
fix.
it, right.
So that's when the permits, stops, but I'm so inclined to go ahead and make a motion. And I would personally wouldn't mind affording the property owner till July the 9th, same thing, to, if possible, to avoid placing a lien, to find that in case number EEN 22-0383, to reaffirm the municipal, to reaffirm the fines that have accrued as to date of 18,420, plus the administrative costs of $1,000 to be paid by July the 9th, if not on July the 10th, for the village to place a lien. That way, at least, there's something.
I appreciate, I know the board has, acted to, help. And I appreciate that, and I really do appreciate the additional time. Thank you.
And
But actually, we can't really give the total because it's gonna.
no, I'm just saying as of
Yeah,
today.
Gotcha.
you
Do
know.
I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Who seconded?
Rodolfo.
Rodolfo.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And I just want to say it's very nice to meet you all and, this amazing building.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I do. I have one more?
Oh.
Okay, I thought it was. Oh, I'm sorry.
Gee whiz.
Two more.
Okay, first case 7A, 826 Northeast 121st Street, case number EEN 18-1224, Jan Roots and wife Denise. That's for property maintenance, chapter 8.4, exterior paint required, planning, designing, review board, paint approval required. The property was declared an unsafe structure by the building official. Okay.
Because it's all the same situation, rather than case for case for case.
Okay, the next case, 826 Northeast, 121st Street, EEN 18-1225. 7C, 826 Northeast 121st Street, case number EEN 18-1277. Next case, 7D, 826 Northeast 121st Street, case number EEN 18-1478. Next case, 7E, 826 121st Street, case number EEN 20-0001. Next case, 7F, 826 Northeast 121st Street, case number EEN 21-0179. Next case, 7G, 826 Northeast 121st Street, case number EEN 21-0180.
Voluntary dismissal on all these cases. These cases were never escalated, they were not followed up on, they were not re-inspected. So when the big case came for the unsafe structure, it superseded these smaller cases. They've been sitting in our system, and I'm asking the board to dismiss these cases.
I'll make a motion to dismiss.
I'll second the motion to dismiss those cited.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. So these were cases written up by a prior code officer that never came in front of us. And at this point, the unsafe structure issue supersedes these little things, so they will get moved away.
Yes,
They're
ma'am.
dismissed.
Yes, ma'am. But I'm still gonna count it as a win.
Exactly, absolutely.
Both of you.
Tonight.
In the back and say anything.
Gentlemen, it's good, right? You're good, you're good, sir. Thank you so much.
Nice
You
to
too,
meet you,
sir.
sir.
Good luck.
You have a card, Mr. Ryan?
He did, yeah.
I did. Second, yeah. You have to speak up a little bit.
I just lost so many of them.
A through E.
Our next case. 6H, no, correction, 6I. 11605 Northeast 11th Place. Carrie A. DeCastro and Arturo DeCastro. Violation 9.17.1, abandoned property. My mistake. Violation 18.5.2, construction fence. Permit required. There's a failure to provide construction fence as per village construction ordinance. This case is in compliance. Permit PB 22-0225 was issued. And as of today, they pulled the permit. And the fine has been paid today. You are correct. This is,
I want to make sure that there's no confusion here because in the fine reduction request, the gentleman mentions permit. The issue here that resulted in the violation and resulted in the $1,000 fine wasn't the permit, although yes, everything requires a permit. It was the lack of a proper construction fence securing the site while the pool was under construction. That is a major life safety issue. And that's all we're here for tonight, is to decide whether or not it merits a fine reduction.
Yeah, the board, that's why. They were so-
If I could say something,
So
please.
please identify yourself and your relationship.
My
to
name
the
is
property.
Arturo De Castro. I am the property owner.
Please, if I could let the board have their comments first, sir. Thank you. Comments from the board, please.
We were just filling in, Michael, that
Sure.
it was,
Yeah, thank you for bringing that picture, Raphael, because Michael wasn't on the board at that time.
I'm ready to hear from Mr. DeCastro if you guys didn't have any comments.
Okay.
DeCastro, the floor is yours.
We did have a construction fence in front of the pool, not in front of the property. You know, when the inspector went there, he saw it and took pictures of it. And then after the pool was done, you know, when we were redoing the fence in the front, that's when I started getting the fines like that. You know, I had to put a construction fence. I did not know that in order to change the fence, that I also needed to have a construction fence in front of the fence. I did have one in front of the pool at the time, not in front of my property.
So the picture that we saw with the wood pieces there acting as your fence between your property and the other property, that behind that by the pool, you
There
had
was a construction fence.
construction fence around the pool structure.
Right.
So you're saying that from a life safety standpoint, that you had that protected because you had the pool structure.
Absolutely. And not only that, the part on the side where I had the wood fence, that was just for my dog not to get out. That's it.
And did we get pictures of it?
And the construction crew went in and out through that side, you know.
Because they were doing the pool.
Because they were doing the pool. And then after the pool was finished, that I did the permit was closed, I did the fence in the front, you know, and that's when I started getting the violation to stop, you know, construction. And I asked why, and they were like, because the front was open. So the next day, I closed the front.
We had, at the time we heard this case, substantial substantive evidence that showed the area was not properly secured, hence why the violation, hence why the fine. And again, I'm going back to, we're not here to retry that. We're here to decide whether or not it merits a reduction.
I mean, I don't know what that evidence was. I'm here now. I wasn't here before. I've heard Mr. DeCastro's testimony, because I think that you took an oath, right, when you first came in
did.
here. So I mean, that's the only thing I can consider, as far as I can see. And the only evidence that I've heard today was that there was a construction fence around the pool structure
It was in front of the pool.
in front of the pool.
It was from one side of the fence to the other where the pool was in the back of my house.
Did you bring the code officer back there to see it?
Absolutely. He took pictures of it, of the whole
But for
fence,
the-
and he told me it was fine.
The problem is, when a pool is under construction, until that permanent fence goes in, the safety net can't be a hit and miss thing. It can't be it's up today, it's not tomorrow, and that apparently must have been
The
what was
safety
going
net
on.
was there the entire time until the
Oh,
fence was up.
Again, I'm going back to,
Right,
sir,
right,
we're
yeah.
not retrying the case.
Got it.
We are going to,
This is about the fine reduction.
Right.
So we're not retrying it. It's whether we want to, whether we'll, accept the offer presented of $100.
actually, I think it's $1.
No, it was 100.
100?
Yeah, $100.
Right,
That's-
$100, right, Mr. DeCastro?
Yes, sir, $100, $100. I wouldn't say $1 because I think that would be an
That's what's
insult.
before us. And I see the permit was, notice of violation was 5/11 and the permit was pulled on 5/25. Yeah. The permit was pulled 14-day, 2 weeks later.
The permit for the fence. Not for the
That
pool.
would have been for the wood fence. If you see the permit, Dale, that's for the.
So when you got the notice, you immediately, or within 2 weeks, filed for the permit.
Not the fence. The fence, I filed for the permit and then I closed the property. The permit for the pool was pulled, you know, when in November.
Previously, yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
like way
that's for
before.
the wood fence. That's not what he was given the violation for. It was the lack of the construction fence.
Right. But
The construction fence,
Mhm.
because the wooden fence had not been put up yet.
Right.
Anyway, we're not retrying it. Allegedly, there may not have been the construction fence there. The fact is that there was nothing in the front.
Right.
At this point, there was a violation. There was a fine of assessed. It is in compliance. Permit was pulled within 2 weeks. I'd make a motion to accept the $100 fine.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, you know, your mercy on me. I thank you and I hope you guys have a great day. And I'll pay the fine tomorrow or the next day. I got you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Castro.
Our next case, 6B, 690 Northeast 121st Street. Case number EEN 19-1565, Olivia Almagro. This is a violation for 8.4 property maintenance of exterior walls, roof, garage door, and awnings to maintained free of dirt, mildew, chipping, and peeling. Exterior needs painting. Case is non-compliant, but the property owner obtained an approved color application form. I was submitted on April 19th, 2023, and the house still remains unpainted. We asked the board to order and impose municipal lien on the property.
Is the first case that we heard back several years ago.
That is correct.
And even with the second one that we shouldn't have heard, it is still not in compliance. Am I correct?
That is correct. We have some photos we'd like to submit that were taken today to evidence.
But was this the one that we talked about a couple months ago where the lady was, or the homeowner was saying that they did pressure clean the house, but it wasn't painted?
Shouldn't have heard the duplicate.
Right,
That one is coming up next for dismissal.
okay.
Yeah, so it's
Ms. Almagro, I'm going to need to swear you in.
questions from the board?
Good evening. I said, good evening. Can you introduce yourself and tell us?
The relationship to the property, please.
My name is Olivia Almagro, and I am the property owner for 690 Northeast 121st Street.
So Olivia, you haven't painted the house.
Yes, so I wanted to just sort of give a little history. Probably, I think about two years ago, or during the pandemic, I think, it was suggested because it was like heavy rain and I don't have an awning in the front of the home. And so at the bottom of the property, it gets really muddy. And so the code enforcement, she was like, well, you may need to, first, initially she said to paint it. And then she was like, well, you know what? And I was like, you know, maybe you can get it pressure cleaned. That was the first time that I had ever pressure cleaned. And it was fine. And so it's not the way, it doesn't look the way it was obviously 2 years ago. It was in a much better state than it is now. Now it needs paint. I did have it pressure cleaned recently, and it was like, okay, you know what? Now it's starting to chip because it's been pressure cleaned, a few times. And so I am, you know, prepared to get my house painted, but because of the urgency of the fence and getting that, process, getting the surveyor and all that stuff, that was sort of like a priority for me to get that done, because I was sort of confused. Initially, I thought, with regard to the other, I guess complaint, rather, I thought it was something else. I had no clue until finally when I spoke to Mr. Lucius and he explained to me exactly what it is. And then, no, actually I saw an email, and then that's when I was like, oh, okay, kind of put two to two. I had no clue what was going on. But I realized, you know what, let me go ahead and get the surveyor, get it notarized, get everything together, upload everything into the system. I had no clue that I was supposed to pull a permit from the other case. And so basically I was just like, okay, you know what, let me just deal with this really quickly and then prepare to paint my house. So I am asking the board for leniency, if you could allow me an extension to paint my house. So that it, you know, if I'm able to, because although it needs painting, I don't think that it looks ridiculous. At least in my opinion. I don't think it's, you know, the eyesore in the neighborhood. I do agree, it does need painting, particularly in the back. It needs painting. And I've already picked out the colors. And I got the permit and everything. I've already identified a gentleman who is going to paint the house. I just need to do it in steps, you know, financially, you know, it's a lot on me. So what I plan to do is to go ahead and buy the paint. And then he said, okay, once you get that done, then I'm ready to come over and paint the house. And so, like I said, that was just sort of the steps of, okay, get the paint, have them paint it. Then with the other case, I was like, oh my God, I got to get this done. I have to be in compliance. So I immediately went ahead and prayed for a surveyor, which I asked the surveyor, I said, is my fence encroaching? He said, no, it's not. It's on your property.
And
And
we need
so-
to stick with this case.
Okay, I
please.
know I'm kind of sort of going back and forth, but I'm just asking for if I can have an extension to paint the house.
Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
This started in September of 2020.
And it wasn't, it was wet. It was like mud at the bottom of the house.
Ma'am,
Uh-huh.
either way, your first order of enforcement, you were given deadlines with which to get everything painted and done back in September of
Right.
2020. When this case unfortunately duplicated, came to us again,
Mhm.
you asked for an extension. It was
Right.
given. We're
It was-
already 3 months
Right.
away from 3 years.
Okay, but it was sort of, honestly, it was, when I talked to the code enforcement, we were talking about pressure cleaning, because it wasn't in the state that it is now. That was the first time that I had ever had it pressure cleaned, and it looked like it was painted, quite frankly, and she was like, oh, it looks fine. And I thought it was good to go. Now, yes, it does need to be painted. However, it is not, you can look at the pictures. Like I said, the backyard needs to be, all of it needs to be painted. I mean, you know, it is my property. I know I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, because really it starts back in January of 2019.
Right, right.
And I remember your being here.
Mhm.
And at the time, the recommendation was to pressure clean, and the code officer would then come out, and if it needed to be painted, you may have to paint it. But if you said it, all it needed was pressure clean to get rid of the mildew, that was it. That was the ruling at the time, but I believe that was in 2019.
Mhm.
Then it came back a year later in 2020, and that's when it was
Hmm.
to, the one that's before us now, whether we're gonna request to file a lien, was about the exterior walls and recommended
fence.
it be,
It does
to be,
say paint,
to be
yeah.
painted,
Yep.
and giving you an X number of days to, have a permit pulled to initiate the paint, and if not, a daily fine. So
I don't recall, I'm sorry, sir, I don't recall the end of our conversation, that the house needed to be painted. It
Sure.
wasn't
If you'd like to
basically,
look at the order of enforcement from that back in September of 2020.
yes, I would like to see it.
that was in 2020. In 19, That was about the
This is the-
pressure cleaning, and it was agreed that we'd give you time to pressure clean, and I don't think there was any type of order at that time. It was that you were going to, pressure clean, and if it met with the code officer's, approval, it was nothing proceeded after that.
Mhm.
It was in 2020 that the issue, then became escalated,
Right.
and you ended up having an order of enforcement. And
Yeah.
now we're up to this point where nothing has been done. Permit's been pulled in April, looks like April the 18th. it was
Right.
paid for,
Expired. That's
And-
expired.
Right.
And, April the 18th, and, hasn't been painted.
Right.
And now the 60 days are passed.
Mm.
But what's before us now is whether we should ask the village to move to file the lien.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I'm sorry. So I don't recall, sir,
Mhm.
respectfully, I don't recall there being any. The only thing that now that from my recollection, is the fence. I don't remember there being any, because once it was pressure cleaned, it was like good to go. There was also, also with and I'm sorry, because it's kind of like one and one. Also with the fence, it was like two of the tile, two of the,
slats.
yeah, slabs, right, were down. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Because that was the concern. The house, when it was pressure cleaned, it was fine. That, again, that was a couple years ago. That was the first time
That
that
was,
I had it pressure cleaned.
that was in 2019. We're talking about 2020. You
I
may
don't
have-
remember, I don't remember
Yeah.
getting any notification. I don't remember getting any
You
notification.
may have,
Would have gotten it.
you may have been, you may have pressure cleaned it, but it was never closed out with the village or came into compliance.
Yeah, I
And
never,
it still remains not in
Yeah.
compliance, and it
yeah,
hasn't really gotten any better. So at this point, we're
Can I
still
get-
not in compliance, and your permit has expired.
correct.
And so you need to then pay for, I mean, I get, I'm not sure what with the paint permit, you just have to.
No, I just have to go through the process
Right, you
again.
just have to go through the process. But we're at the point of, what's before us is, do we ask the village to go ahead and file a lien? And right now, so that you'll know, I'm inclined to ask the village, because I don't even see where any other action has been to get it painted, permitted. I mean, painted. If it was that, yes, I'd have it painted, wait a minute, if it was painted, then you'd be asking for a fine reduction
Right.
because you were in compliance, but you're not in compliance. You can't even ask us for a fine reduction.
I just, you know, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. You know, financially, it is a financial burden. And I have every intention on getting it painted.
So, may
When
ask-
I say that back then, it did not need to be painted. And the code enforcement at that time agreed with me, and I apologize for going back. I'm just telling you what was shared with me at that time was that it was fine.
I mean, we have to go by
I know what
in
you're.
writing
And
from
now that I know,
that last
now
case.
that I know, and now that I'm familiar with this process, because I would have asked for a follow-up. If she agreed that it was fine, I would have asked something in writing.
I'm just,
But anyway,
I would just ask, when, you said you had someone to paint the house.
yes, I do.
When is the expected date to have the house, painted?
Well,
2 weeks?
is it possible that I can have it painted by the next board meeting?
I'm asking you.
Right. No, I know, but I'm just saying, is it possible?
You'd have to apply for another, permit,
Yes, I'll apply for another
and
permit.
then you gotta get a paint, and you're saying that you're asking, is it possible? That means that your thought process is that you're gonna pull a permit
Yeah.
and have it painted within 30 days.
Yes, sir.
And then you would have to ask for a fine reduction,
Okay, because I'll.
all within, by the next meeting.
Okay.
I'm just asking, trying to figure out
Okay.
what you're doing, only because it has to come to something. We still have the fines are assessing. It would help her to, if we could get something.
What I'd like to see as part of your motion, though, that this would be the last extension.
Oh, no, I bet you,
Thanks.
we're not extending anything. The only thing we're doing is whether we're gonna ask the village to move forward with the lien.
Right.
Or pend it for a month, and if it's not complied with after the next meeting, or by the next meeting, to ask the village to move forward with
I would agree.
Well, you
lien.
know what, I honestly, I cannot afford, any liens or any penalties. So I will have to beg, borrow to, cause you know, it is a major expense to get the house
Absolutely.
painted. In addition, like I said, I was a little confused what was needed with the fence and finally understood exactly what I needed to do to get the fence done.
I
So,
do, I don't mean to interrupt, but I do remember back then that you had written a letter and contacted and were here. So
right, it
I
wasn't
know,
here.
you know the process a little bit, because
No, no,
many
I
letters have
became-
been gone,
I became,
Yeah.
yes.
many letters have gone through, but I think I might can help you, and if I'd like to make a motion, I'd like to make
If
a
I could
motion.
Just kind of say one thing. You do realize now, though, had you complied, we would not be looking at these kind of fines.
Listen, I didn't.
It's
I
a simple
don't
way to keep
recall-
fines from getting too big.
Respectfully, I don't recall getting any notices in 2020. I mean, it was during a pandemic, so I don't remember getting any notices from there. I do remember there was a meeting that we did, and I wasn't here.
It was a
physically.
Zoom meeting.
It
I
was a Zoom
remember it.
meeting.
It was a Zoom meeting.
Exactly.
Well, you could get with the, village, because they're certified mails, and
We've got certified mail. that
Okay,
shows-
but I didn't get it.
well,
At any rate.
I
we-
would
we
like
have-
to make a motion that we give that in case number EN 19-1565, to, give the resident until
July 19th.
July 18th to come into compliance and to have the house painted, come into compliance, and to request, if warranted, a fine reduction. If not, on July the 19th, to proceed with filing a lien.
I mean, I have a question, sir. You talked about a fine and how much is this fine? I need to,
You have your fine is running daily, but currently it's at 9,000 something as of. That's why I'm suggesting that you get it
I
painted.
never, so.
I'm not gonna suggest, I'm only saying
Okay.
your options are to get it painted and then ask for a fine reduction,
Right.
which would come, meaning that you complied, you've got your house painted, and you're just asking for the village, because all the village wants is compliance.
Mhm.
But at this point, we don't have any compliance. And our only option now is to file a lien, which really encumbers your property.
Right, I don't want, respectfully, please do not place a lien on my property.
But you have the power of that.
To do.
He just made a motion that's gonna give you 30 days to do what you said that you contemplated doing. You're gonna get a permit. You're gonna get your guy out there, get that paint. You're gonna have the guy paint the house. And then you're gonna make an appointment to come here for the next meeting and ask for a fine reduction that we would consider. And I can tell you that I would be more than charitable in looking at your case. If I'm sitting there looking at pictures of a brand new painted house and you're asking for mercy on the code to reduce your fine significantly because you've come into compliance, which is all we want. And that's what Ms.
Ma'am,
Blanton's saying.
I just want to make sure you understand whether or not a lien gets placed is totally in your control. get the house
right
painted?
now.
The
I just
deadline?
really, it was the fence that really threw me off.
Okay, but get the
That I was
house,
just like, okay, I have to take a priority, which one? And I had to run out, get the surveyor to go around. That is an expense.
if the house is painted
Mhm.
by July 18th,
Yeah.
there will be no lien. If the house is not painted by July 18th,
No,
there will be.
And it may be even painted sooner than that. I just want to be able to, so that I'm not driving myself crazy and, you know, that I have some time,
Yeah.
a little time, but
Yeah,
no.
sure. Just, so my motion is to, come into compliance by July the 18th. If not, request that the village move forward with filing a lien. At administrative costs of $250. What that means is, you need to have your permit. And as soon as you get the house painted, you want to ask for an inspection so they can come by and sign off on your permits. 'Cause
Right.
That's gonna help with the fines and all. And
Okay.
then you, from there, you could ask for the village to bring it before us for a fine reduction.
Okay.
That was my motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
So you got what you wanted. And hopefully we get what we want in 30 days and, you know, we don't have to be meeting under these circumstances.
Right.
So let me ask you, okay, so as soon as it's painted, then I just call and say, hey, I want an inspector to come out and he'll take a look at it.
Please remember, you have to renew your permit.
Okay, I gotta renew the permit. Okay.
Yes, and so there's no confusion. It is your responsibility to, if the, to make, to call back to get your house, to get a finalized
And finalize, right.
Inspection.
inspection.
Okay.
Who does the paint inspections? Who does the paint inspection?
They-
You do?
yes.
Okay,
But that's after, once we
okay,
sign you off with the paint,
right.
please, then we'll walk with you through the process of
Okay.
applying for reduction.
Okay,
Okay?
okay. Now, I just, and then maybe, I was thinking maybe I can have the inspector talk to the painter, cause I don't want any confusion. You know, that, you know, like, is there anything that would be, that will maybe catch your attention that's like not in compliance? Cause I don't want him to paint and then it's like, oh no, he didn't do this and he didn't do that. So I just want to make sure that maybe prior, I can have the inspector come out to talk to him.
You're welcome to have, talk to the village. That's not for us. You just,
Right, that's for these fine folks.
Are you guys willing to do that? To talk to? Okay, thank you.
thank you, ma'am.
Hopefully see you next month with everything under control.
News.
Yeah, thank you. Now it's the fence. That's the
Oh,
one
we
that's
have
about
another
to
one?
send me to the nut house.
Thank you, ma'am, for taking the time.
That one is not before this board. It was last hearing.
Oh, so then that's not gonna get a lien, is it?
Once you get into
so there's-
compliance with that, just come to the office. We'll check for
Yes,
compliance
it
and
is.
then,
I
and this is-
uploaded
Another one
it
for the same
to
property, right?
Platform.
okay, I'll check.
It's property maintenance,
Everything is good.
same thing,
You
right?
can come in. We'll go through the process of applying for reduction.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
Our next case, 7C, 690 Northeast 121st Street, case number CEN-23-15, Olivia Almagro. This is violation chapter 8.4, property maintenance, description of exterior walls, roof, garage door, and awnings shall be maintained free of dirt, mildew, chipping, and peeling. Exterior needs painting.
'Cause the
We're-
roof was clean.
We're asking the board to order a dismissal in this case
The duplicate.
Oh.
Dismiss.
due to it
This is-
being a
It's a
duplicate.
duplicate. We have.
Move to dismiss.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Oh, okay. good. Yeah, 'cause I got the roof
Can't wait to see your house.
Okay, so,
Good night, Miss Olivia.
good night.
Night,
Thank you,
ma'am.
guys. Thank you.
Good evening. You've lived here for a while now, come on. Is, all right, we have 6H, correct? And I do see that the cover page on our documentation is for the wrong, is for Jan Roots and not the property for 6H.
When is it? 12:10? Oh,
Yes, 1210, but my documentation,
Yeah, it says Roots versus Ariana. Connie.
oh, he sent a correction? That's what he says?
oh, all right, I'm only saying my paper copy now.
He did.
Couple things.
I was a pain and sent him corrections on Saturday, not thinking he would pick up, and he did.
All right. So I can just, we don't need this part.
Mhm. Case is in compliance.
All right.
Okay, where are we, folks?
Our last case, 6H 1210 Northeast 121st Street, case number EEN 21-0848, Oriana Estefany Avaledo. Violation 6.3C dumpster, chapter 16.1.1 permits. Dumpster trailer parked in front of the property without a permit. The status on this case was compliance. They paid the fine and pulled the permit.
Yes, they applied for the permit and paid the violation fine, so they are now in compliance.
Basically, we just take no action.
Absolutely.
Well, do we take no action or we just move to dismiss?
If we dismiss, we're effectively saying.
Either way,
That's why I'm always concerned about using the word dismiss
right.
versus just take no action.
Well, all right. What about, I'll make a motion to close on case number,
Better.
what's the case number?
EN 21-0848.
I'll make a motion, it's in compliance and to close the case.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
That was all the cases we had for tonight.
If we hit the bottom of the pile. So, are we good, folks?
Yes.
Any discussion, anybody, questions, anything you'd like to bring up?
No, I thought, it was an excellent job.
Really, you guys did an amazing job, as always. I found a couple of, this is how dedicated these guys are. I found a couple of just little things, when I first went through the agenda. I sent it on Saturday only, of course, I forgot you guys were off Monday, only so they'd have it first thing. Raphael took care of everything on Saturday.
Yep.
You got
I know. I got my deliveries.
all three of you are fantastic. You just continue to do so much to elevate the department and elevate the standards. And you can just see, Michael, I'm not sure if you were on the board then, but just a few months back, we had a significant number of fines and cases we had to dismiss of all things for a pool enclosure. And it happened to be on 11th Court, which if you know 11th Court, the backyard's open to 11th Avenue. So it was all wide open for several months. Sloppy workmanship. They had an attorney who caught our sloppy workmanship. We had to dismiss that, the former code officers. Now you see tonight all that we had to dismiss. These guys have had so much to clean up while elevating the department and doing their own jobs day to day. I just have such gratitude and thank the three of you very much, because the difference is obvious.
Yes.
No, I hear all the research that you guys have to do and to figure stuff out and to basically recreate. It sounds like you've made a significant amount of progress.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So, the next meeting is for July the 19th.
Do we have any excuses for
Pardon?
July 19th? Who's on vacation?
Here. Over here.
I'll be here. I'll be leaving. I'll be the next day.
They're here.
Okay,
good.
good. So next meeting, July.
Judy will be here.
And
Thank you. We appreciate, we have a great board, so we are thankful. Well,
Eventually, we have to talk about November and December, but that's when we have a full board.
oh, the motion to adjourn. Motion.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh,
what
thank
part of
you.
it
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Never been.
That's what we did. We did it, on house, up in Tuscany outside of Florence, and had a bar. And we did this ride around. No, faster and the roads are this wide and you're winding up on a mountain. Yeah. Apple. You can drive stick shift.
Yeah.
So they have the other ones, stick shift. And you have the big trucks that are coming up the roads beside you.
I grew up in
There you go. I grew up in the country.
Oh, nice.